Hello. The Industrial Revolution, the term we now use to describe the economic and social transformation that began in Britain and spread around the world, was first named as such in 1837 and is credited to a French political activist, Louis-Auguste Blanqui. It was popularised by the political economist and social reformer Arnold Toynbee in his Lectures on the Industrial Revolution in England, published posthumously in 1884, a year after his death. Revolution is not too strong a word. The technology unleashed was transformative. A mainly rural economy, based on agriculture and small-scale cottage industries, changed in little more than a generation to one that was fully industrialised and urbanised. A surge of engineering innovation triggered mechanisation, firstly through the introduction of water power and then by steam to drive machinery, with a plentiful supply of coal providing an efficient fuel to fire the boilers. Cottage industries were replaced by the mass manufacture of goods produced in factories under the control of capitalists. Why did this transformation begin in Britain? The short answer is a combination of factors and circumstances came together to create the right conditions. To summarise, there was relative political stability after the bloodless, glorious revolution of 1688 and the accession of William and Mary, a defining moment accompanied by a declaration and a Bill of Rights ensuring the supremacy of Parliament and the development of a constitution that emphasised individual freedom. Trade was stimulated by the liberation of market forces. A strong banking and credit system emerged after the founding of the Bank of England in 1694. Essentially the government's banker, managing the national debt. By 1740, just as the Industrial Revolution was beginning, a three-tier system had developed. Beneath the Bank of England, some 20 or so private banks were servicing the London money market, and around a dozen small private provincial banks issued their own notes. Country banks with substantial reserves invested in London's banks. City banks in turn purchased government debentures from the Bank of England. If reserves ran low, the process was reversed, delivering a degree of financial stability. But an established system geared to the needs of society's elite was wary of the potential exposure to risk in financing new industrial businesses. Into the gap stepped adventurous entrepreneurs. From 1765, Taylor's and Lloyd's Bank of Birmingham, founded by button maker John Taylor with iron merchant Sampson Lloyd together with their sons, was servicing the iron industry. Samuel Galton and Son, in partnership with Joseph Gibbons, set up a bank around 1780, also in Birmingham, serving the gun trade. In East Anglia, woolen traders John and Henry Gurney established a bank in Norwich in 1775, dealing with the textile industry. These and similar country banks ensured access to fixed and working capital, and the short and long-term credit necessary to manage cash flow through the different stages of mass production, from mobilising assets and bringing in raw materials to marketing finished goods. Natural resources such as coal and iron were available in quantity, with mines and foundries already established. Communications that had been a constraint on transporting goods nationally improved, shortening delivery times, bringing down transport costs and opening up markets. The 10-mile-long Bridgewater Canal, engineered by James Brindley and credited as the first entirely man-made canal, from the Duke of Bridgewater's colliery at Worsley to Manchester, opened in 1761. As a result, the price of coal in Manchester halved. Backed by businessmen, including Potter Josiah Wedgwood, Brindley went on to tackle the most ambitious civil engineering project ever attempted in Britain, what would become the Trent and Mersey Canal, first stage in a plan for cross-country waterways linking Liverpool, Manchester, Bristol, London and Hull. Before the Turnpike Act of 1663, most roads were a parish responsibility, maintained by statute labour, an unpopular obligation and one widely avoided. The Turnpike Act introduced a system of toll roads, operated and maintained by trusts, that took off in the 18th century with increasing demand. There was an intellectual climate of collaboration and sharing of information, notably in the Royal Society, but also provincially in groups like the Midlands-based Lunar Society that encouraged scientific advances and technological innovation. Importantly, in creating the conditions in which the Industrial Revolution could take place was a revolution in agriculture. Efficiencies and greater productivity meant food prices began to fall in real terms, and a surplus of rural workers provided industry with an available labour supply. Significantly, as the Industrial Revolution got underway, Britain's population, static for centuries, began to rise rapidly, doubling between 1801 and 1841, increasing consumer demand. There were occasional blips, but overall population rise was accompanied by an increase in purchasing power that drove continuing growth, an economic situation experienced in Britain decades before anywhere else. There were sales abroad, and Britain's colonies were a source of raw materials, but it was primarily demand from the home market that sustained economic growth. The agricultural advances that ensured food production increased efficiently, helping to create the economic conditions necessary for the Industrial Revolution to take place, will be my subject next time. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.